The Motorola Talkabout T62 PMR446 radio. First look and on-air walkabout test by Paul, you know my amateur radio call sign, or 26 Charlie Tango 730 if you catch me on 11 meters and PMR446.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Paul, Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, or 26 Charlie Tango 730 if you catch me on 11 meters and PMR446. Now, we're going to talk about PMR446 again. Now, you'll obviously recognise this radio, it's my Intek MT-5050. That one will be hopefully featuring in another video very soon where I go up onto the hills and try and make contact on the Sunday 8 to 8 net. Hopefully. I'm not sure whether that's going to happen, that depends on the weather and whatever other factors may get in the way of that. So, my last shot that I did, I saw that Curry's PC World, of all places, were actually selling PMR446 radios on their website. And came across these for about £55. These are Motorola Talkabout T62. Now, these are made by Motorola, but it's not the same Motorola that make the mobile phones anymore, because Motorola has split into two separate companies. Basically, what was the original Motorola company is making these radios, and the mobile phone division's owned by Chinese computer manufacturer Lenovo. So, not really the same anymore. So, Motorola mobile phones of today are not the same as the classic Motorola mobile phones. You may remember the Motorola V3 Razr. I actually have one of those, and I have its successor, the V3i, as well. So, I did like the Motorola phones back in the day when Motorola was just one company and made mobile phones, radios and all sorts. But today they just make consumer grade and business grade radios. Now these are the Talkabout T62. These are available in blue or red, and I got the blue ones because I like blue. It's one of my favourite colours, if not my actual favourite colour. Now this will also allude to the Poundland video I did, because you can buy USB power banks from Poundland, and I did allude to in that you can actually charge some modern PMR446 sets off USB, and these Motorola's are certainly ones you can charge off those power banks. I'm not sure how long it would take to actually charge them off those power banks, or whether the power bank would run out before the radio was fully charged. They are nickel metal hydride batteries in the back. So basically what you get in the box is the two radios. They come with belt clips, I've already fitted those. They come with the nickel metal hydride battery packs, also already fitted. I'll just take the back off this one and show you what's in there. So that's basically that, or it'll take three dry cells. I believe it's a AA size. I've just got to try and pop that out. Yes, it's 3 AA batteries. So you can get the alkalines from Poundland and they should work fine in that. It says 3.6 volts. Although, having said that, the three alkalines would equal about 4.5 volts. Yeah, so that's about right, 4.5. So that's perfectly fine. So all the buttons are on the front there. It's got a reasonable size display. So it's 16 channel, but you have to actually activate the 16 channels, which I've already done. So that is in the manual, and to do that, you would push the menu button to get into the channel selection, and then you'd press up and down together. That'll work. Okay, now it just said 16 channels there. It's 16 channels. So it has the usual CTCSS and DCS codes on it, but it calls them privacy codes. They're anything but. So don't think you're going to get any privacy at all using CTCSS or DCS, because if the receiving radio doesn't have those set, the receiving radio can still hear you. So that's not something I would advise using if you want privacy. If you want proper privacy, you'd have to have something where scrambling is allowed, and on PMR446 it is not allowed. And no PMR446 radio, as standard, has a scrambler feature. Modified Intek MT-5050s do, but do that at your own risk. I'm not endorsing modifying radios. So these seem to be quite sensitive from what I've found already, although having said that, well, they've picked up whatever that Midland BaseCamp behind me there has picked up from in the hallway on the same channel, because they are on the same channel at the moment. So I'm going to do a proper little audio test with them where I walk down the road. I'll take one of these, I'll take the Intek as well for comparison, and the Binatone Action 950, because the Binatone Action 950 will be the cheapest of the radios. The most expensive will probably actually be, in fact, that Intek, because I think that's probably about £60–70 new when they were available for one of them. Can't remember actually how much I paid for the MT-5050. I do have its base station sibling, the DRS-5070, but the finals need attention in that, so I'm going to have to look at repairing that at some point. So it's got a scan feature, so I'll just scan through all the channels like so. Got call tone, I've got that turned off. It is disableable in the menus. Volume, power on off. You can open the squelch by pushing and holding the scan button. Let go and it closes it again. So pretty straightforward. Antenna not removable, although it looks like it might be, it isn't. So can charge off a optional drop-in charger. I'm not sure how much they cost. I don't know where you get those from. I'm just going to knock that exposure lock on because the exposure is yo-yoing up and down. There we go. I think that should have sorted it. Yeah, that sorted the exposure. Just a bit exposure issue there. So basically you get into the menu, push the menu button. So you've got the channel change, CTCSS, CTCSS DCS. That would be the call tone, off at the moment. That's Vox or iVox, which is off. It does have a headset connector, and iVox is internal Vox, from what the instruction book says. So dual channel watch. I haven't got that set up. That's the key beeps on. Believe that one's the Roger bleep. And then back to the start. So it's got your headset connector in the top. I believe it's single pin Motorola, but don't quote me on that. But it should be if it is a Motorola radio, which it is. So also in the box it came with a charger with two micro USB connectors on the other end of it. So both radios can be charged at the same time. Although it's a bit of a slow process, as I've noticed. So I'm not 100% sure if it's actually charging the batteries at a decent current or not. But they are nickel metal hydride batteries at the end of the day. So it's also got this pairing button on the side, which allows you to send the DCS, CTCSS, whatever, to another radio in the group. So if you bought a load of these and you wanted to program them all up, set one of these up as like the master radio, and the rest can all get the same setup, and then you're ready to go. Came with a sheet of stickers as well, which I'm not 100% sure as to why it came with those. So presumably that's where it goes. So that USB port, my Windows 10 tablet did seem to try and detect it as an actual hardware device, but it kept saying USB device not recognised. I don't think there is actually any data on that, so I don't think these can be reprogrammed. I've not looked into that, and if they could be reprogrammed, that's something you do at your own risk. So next thing to do really with them is to take them out. Now, if I key this one up now, testing 1 2 3 3 2 1. Yeah, you'll have just heard it come out of that Midland BaseCamp 446 behind me. It's probably going to annoy other people on the channel because it's just on channel 1. Because a lot of people, when they buy these, they just use them straight on channel 1 and that's it. They really should try and use the other channels as well, because they are there. And because these are 16 channels, there's plenty of channels to use. And you are actually allowed to use those in the UK. There are some places you can't use all 16 channels. It does say in the instruction book that Russia is one of those places. Well, that's all it says. It says you can't use them in Russia. But apparently you can use them everywhere else. So they look good really, which I expect from Motorola. So the next thing I'm going to do, like I said, is get out, do a test with them. I'll probably do my usual little test route down around town. That won't be today because I've got other things I need to be doing. That also won't be tomorrow because I actually have a day shift. That's of time of filming. So it'll be the day after. I've also got the video for the Tiny SA to finish as well, so there is that upcoming. So we'll get these out, tested. It'll be back into that Midland BaseCamp 446, which is staying in the position it's in. So we'll see how far away I can actually get with them around town. I'm not expecting very far, so obviously it's UHF and it's reliant on things not being in the way. So I'm going to do a test route out. I'm going to have a look at the test route that I've already plotted and see what else we can do. Also, another upcoming thing for the channel, I spotted a telescopic antenna by Abri on Wish, and I've put an order in for one of those. That'll take a while to get here, so it's got to come from China. So that should arrive, well, hopefully in a couple of weeks. So that's another one to look out for, and that's a telescopic CB antenna, which I'm quite curious about as to whether it actually works or not. Yeah, because it says it's 27 megs, and apparently there's an option it can come with a mag mount. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So, but we'll go on back onto this subject matter, which is this Motorola radio. And we've got two of them, because as I said, it came in a pack of two. So that's how these usually come. So these are good for like if there's a couple of you going out for a walk in a place where the mobile phone doesn't work, or you run a business and you need to get hold of somebody quite quickly, and you don't want to pay £75 for 5 years for a business radio license. So, but these are limited to about half a watt, and I don't believe these can be modified in any way outside of that type approval scheme, and I wouldn't advise that. Although, if you want to modify any PMR446 gear to do things that it really shouldn't, then that's entirely your call. I'm not here to stop you. I'm just here to say it's at your own risk. So we'll get these out on the air. Well, it'll be one of these. It won't necessarily be both of them, and I'll see how that fares. So what I'll do is on that day, which will be a couple of days time from time of filming, I'll get a camcorder set up in here. With that BaseCamp, I will plug that extension speaker that's in front of it into that radio, because I think the internal speaker in that radio isn't the best, but we'll see on the day. I think I will be plugging that extension speaker in. So I'll just be a test route around town. I've done a test route with handheld CBs before, so it probably might be that same test route. So I'll catch you when I start that. Okay, so I'm a few days late with this part now because I've had to basically do extra shifts at work that weren't planned. So got the Midland BaseCamp 446 here. It's on channel 1 at the moment, as it was for the SSTV test. Now, there are people using channel 1 today, so what I'm going to do is use channel 5, as I've already set up on one of the Motorola Talkabouts. So try that again. Testing 1 2 3 3 2 1. Testing 1 2 3 3 2 1. I'll knock up the volume a bit, so might give feedback. I'll stand back.
Testing 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1.
Yeah, that's fine. So I'll get a camcorder set up, to record that, and I'll get myself out for a walk while it's still dry, because it is raining at the moment. The exposure's a wee bit high because I wanted you to see the display. I can actually knock that back down now. So there we go, I'll knock it back down so it doesn't look obviously glaring. There we go. So I've just knocked the exposure back down. So that's now tuned to channel 5, which is within the original 8 channels, because I can't use the 9 to 16 to do the test with this. Now I'm using the BaseCamp 446 instead of the SDR because I want this to be as close to real world as possible. This has got a helically wound antenna in there. There's a helically wound antenna in there. And I'll be taking the Intek and the Binatone as well. They've all got the Roger bleeps turned on, so basically you could tell which one is which if you don't notice me say it or I forget to say which one it is, which can happen. So I'll get everything set up, ready to start that. Okay, so I'm outside the block of flats. Let's move my ponytail out of the way. As you can see there, I've got all three radios that I'm going to test. Obviously the star of the show, which is this Motorola Talkabout T62, but I'm also going to compare it against my Intek MT-5050, why not? And the cheapest one out of the three, this Binatone Action 950. You can see a microphone clipped to my hat. That's the microphone I'm actually using for this recording, and so I thought it might be more convenient to clip it there because I'm wearing a bit of a fleecy jacket, because it isn't actually that warm for an August day. It's been raining as well, so that does not help. So as I said, just got the radios actually on the roof of the car right now. I'm stood next to the car, but obviously not taking the car. My first check-in will be where the phone box used to be, so let's head there now. Okay, so I've had to take shelter under a tree because the heavens have just opened and even that's not working. It's actually quite heavy. That's not great for my equipment, but you know. So I've got the Motorola here. Let's try that one first. This is a test of the Motorola Talkabout T62 back to base from near the old Ames Road phone box in the pouring rain. This test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is a test of the Motorola T62. Okay, so that's the Motorola done. I'm just going to pause the video while I get the next radio. Okay, I've just moved a bit more under this tree because it's just got heavier and heavier and heavier. So it's now turn of the Intek MT-5050 versus that Motorola. So I'm recording back at base, so hopefully it'll work. This is a test of the Intek MT-5050 versus the Motorola Talkabout T62. Same location, site of old phone box on Ames Road. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is from the Intek MT-5050, comparing it to the Motorola Talkabout T62. Now I do still have the Motorola on in my pocket, so you might have heard it pick that up. So there is another radio in the same pocket as the Motorola. And that's the GB Binatone Action 950 that I've had for many years. So I'm going to pause the video again whilst I fish that out. Okay, so I've had to restart the video there because for some reason it stopped rather than paused. So that's okay. You won't notice any difference. Binatone Action 950, cheapest of the lot. A little bit off frequency, I think, for my liking. It's still very wet and rainy and horrible. I think you can probably see there might be a bit of rain got on the camera. Not helpful. Camera I'm using today is a Samsung Galaxy S8 because my Oppo mobile phone is having some headset port issues. So I can't record on that anymore, I don't think. I'm still obviously got that with me because my mother might actually try and call me, because I did call her earlier today and she didn't pick up. So if the video abruptly stops, that's probably why. So onto the radio in question. Okay, this is a test transmission of the Binatone Action 950 versus the Motorola Talkabout T62. Same location, site of old phone box on Ames Road. Stood under a tree in the pouring rain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is on the Binatone Action 950. Okay, so what I'll do next is obviously you'll see those on the screen in a wee while once I've stopped recording this bit. Now I've got to try and get to behind the houses, which should prove a challenge for PMR446 because obviously it's UHF and line of sight and obstructions don't do it any favours. So I've got to try and get down there to the end of the street and then behind the houses. And I'm going to get wet, very wet. So I didn't bring a waterproof coat or an umbrella. And I wouldn't have been able to hold an umbrella anyway. So my next stop is at the bottom of the street, if I can find somewhere that's a wee bit sheltered. I'll catch you soon.
This is a test of the Motorola Talkabout T62 back to base from near the old Ames Road phone box in the pouring rain. This test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is a test of the Motorola T62. This is a test of the Intek MT-5050 versus the Motorola Talkabout T62. Same location, site of old phone box on Ames Road. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is from the Intek MT-5050, comparing it to the Motorola Talkabout T62. Binatone Action 950 versus the Motorola Talkabout T62. Same location, site of old phone box on Haynes Road. Stood under a tree in the pouring rain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is on the Binatone Action 950.
Okay, I'm round the back of the houses now. It's stopped raining for the moment. I've just set someone's dog off. I can go do one. We're not having dogs barking on my video. So, let's bring out the Motorola. I've turned it off. Oh, try pressing the right button to turn it back on. There's a building site behind me, and I think on channel 1 I'm hearing workers off that building site, as well as kids running around, you know, because loads of people just use PMR446 radio straight out of the box. Really not a good idea, because there's plenty of channels to pick, and, you know, pick a channel and a CDCSS if you really must. So, Motorola first. This is a test of the Motorola Talkabout T62 behind the houses. This is a test of the Motorola T62 behind the houses at the bottom of the street. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Motorola, done. Just turn it off, put it back in my top pocket. Boop. I think Motorola radios have nicer beep tones than anything else. So I now need to find my Intek MT-5050, which I actually just had. I did a bit in front of the houses that I didn't film, so I'll pop that in after this as well. And then you can compare the results of that. Because it's an obstruction, it should not work too well. This is a test of the Intek MT-5050 versus the Motorola Talkabout T62 from behind the houses at the bottom of the street. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, these have all got Roger bleeps switched on, so if I forget to announce which radio it is, then you'll know which radio it is. There we go, that just turned itself on straight out of the box. So that's helpful. Or straight out of the pocket. So, it's the Binatone Action 950. This is a test of the Binatone Action 950, or Binatone Action 950, whatever you'd like to call it, versus the Motorola Talkabout T62. In the same location behind the houses at the bottom of the street. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And again with the Roger bleep on, so you know which radio it is. Not that you need to. Right. Next check-in point will be in front of the leisure centre. As long as it doesn't rain anymore. I hope not.
This is a test of the Motorola T62 from the bottom of the street. So, this is at the bottom of the street before I go around the back of the houses. From the bottom of the street, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Still a bit rainy. This is not being filmed on the camera, so you won't see this part. You'll only hear the This is a test of the Binatone Action 950 at the bottom of the street, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 versus the Motorola T62. This is a test of the versus the Motorola Talkabout T62 from behind the houses at the bottom of the street. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is a test of the Binatone Action 950, or Binatone Action 950, whatever you'd like to call it, versus the Motorola Talkabout T62. Same location behind the houses at the bottom of the street. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, I'm down the path aside of the leisure centre at the moment. I can see Tesco's petrol station from here where I am. I've stood under trees because it actually has started raining again. So it's worth giving it a test from here actually, because there's trees and all sorts here. And people, which is most annoying. So, because it's a public right of way and there's not a lot I can do. So I'm just going to move off the path because that way I'm under the trees and I won't get wet. So, phone's just buzzed in my pocket. It's not ringing though, which is good. Means I can carry on. So, let's give this first one a test. It's a Motorola. This is a test of the Motorola T62, Motorola Talkabout T62, under some trees where it's raining again, just down the side of the leisure centre in Catterick Garrison. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is a test of the Motorola Talkabout T62. Okay, let's turn that off. Right, and next one it will be the Intek. So that's the order I've been doing it in. Intek and then the Binatone. So it's the Intek next. I'm not sure if you can hear my Yaesu FT2D beaconing away down there, but it is doing that. And that's going to fare alright in this weather, because it does have a little bit of... It is kind of splash proof. It's not submersible, but it's kind of splash proof, so a rainstorm shouldn't really be too much of a problem for it. It's the PMRs I'm a bit worried about, but the Motorola looks like it might be okay. So the next one to do is the Intek MT-5050. Okay, this is a test of the Intek MT-5050 versus the Motorola Talkabout T62. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Location is the path running down the side of the leisure centre from the estate where I live. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so that one's done. It's the Binatone I'm really worried about in this weather, because you can't actually get the Binatone Action 950 anymore because they've stopped producing it. They actually produce a similar radio, but you can't get that either. I think that's even gone out of production as well. I think it's called the Action 1100. But Argos aren't selling any Binatones at the moment. They're selling some Cobras and I think some Motorola's as well. But definitely Cobras, because I've seen them. So let's test this Binatone Action 950 versus that Motorola Talkabout. Okay, so testing the Binatone Action 950 versus the Motorola Talkabout T62. This is at the same location in the rain. I'm getting wet now because the rain is starting to come through the trees. And it is the path down the side of the leisure centre in Catterick Garrison. It looks like the sun's coming out though, so I think we might be a-okay soon. So, this is a Binatone Action 950 testing against the Motorola Talkabout T62. Okay, so that's a bit of impromptu, but, you know, because it's raining, thought I may as well do it here, and because it's going to hopefully stop raining by the time I get to the front of the leisure centre, but I don't know. So hopefully I'll make it there and not get too drenched, because, you know, it's not pleasant when you don't have a waterproof coat, as I know from personal experience many moons ago. So next stop hopefully is in front of the leisure centre. It's a bit of a further distance away. And let's see what happens from there, if I get there and don't get wet.
This is a test of the Motorola T62, Motorola Talkabout T62. Under some trees where it's raining again, just down the side of the leisure centre in Catterick Garrison. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is a test of the Motorola Talkabout T62. Okay, this is a test of the Intek MT-5050 versus the Motorola Talkabout T62. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Location is the path running down the side of the leisure centre from the estate where I live. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so testing the Binatone Action 950 versus the Motorola Talkabout T62. This is at the same location in the rain. I'm getting wet now because the rain is starting to come through the trees. And it is the path down the side of the leisure centre in Catterick Garrison. It looks like the sun's coming out though, so I think we might be a-okay soon. So, this is a Binatone Action 950 testing against the Motorola Talkabout T62.
Okay, I'm outside the leisure centre now, so I've managed to grab an opportunity while it's not raining. So let's try that. I'm just going to put the receiver. So the receiver for the microphone behind the camera. So, speaking of the microphone, before I continue, I just recently, during the course of filming this, received a comment. I think his name was Big Pimp or something. I'll have to double check that. Basically telling me on my attempted QSO through the GB7LE repeater video not to spit or stop spitting in the microphone. I would like to point out for the record that microphone that I used in that video has a very woefully inadequate pop filter, which is one of the reasons why I don't use it now. So there you go. It was a pop filter issue, nothing to do with me spitting in the microphone. I will reply to that comment in full later on. By the time this video is finished filming, then we'll do that. So back to the subject matter. Just thought I'd get that in there. So, back to the subject matter. It's the Motorola. We're going to test it. This is a test of the Motorola Talkabout T62 from outside Catterick Garrison Leisure Centre. 12345 54321. So that's that radio tested, and hopefully if Big Pimp is watching this, he'll know I'm not spitting into the microphone, because he pretty much yelled at me in the comment section for that. While I'm all for criticism, I don't appreciate yelling. So let's do the next radio, which is this one. This is a test of the Intek MT-5050 versus the Motorola Talkabout T62. Same location, front of Catterick Garrison Leisure Centre. There's a bit of traffic going past, so I might pick up on the video. Not sure about on the transmission note. 12345 54321. Okay. At least the sun's come out. So it's getting a bit wet. Where's my Binatone? It's in my pocket. Okay. This is a test of the Binatone, or Binatone, however you want to pronounce it, Action 950 outside the front of Catterick Leisure Centre, 12345 54321, compared against the Motorola Talkabout T62. Okay, so I'll be checking all that obviously when I get home. So now the next is the big challenge, which is behind the wall at the bottom of Tesco's car park. Now I might actually run into one of my work colleagues, or both of them actually, because there should be 2 people on day shift today at work. So, you never know. Right, straighten my hat out, because it's gone a bit crooked, and I'll catch you in a wee while.
This is test of the Motorola Talkabout T62 from outside Catterick Garrison Leisure Centre, 12345 54321. This is a test of the Intek MT-5050 versus the Motorola Talkabout T62. Same location, front of Catterick Garrison Leisure Centre. There's a bit of traffic going past, so I might pick up on the video. Not sure about the transmission note. 12345 54321. This is a test of the Binatone, or Binatone, however you want to pronounce it, Action 950 outside the front of Catterick Leisure Centre, 12345 54321, compared against the Motorola Talkabout T62.
Right, behind the wall at Tesco now. It's a brick wall, as you know, and it's nice and low down, and for PMR446, let's try and bring the camera out a bit, that is going to prove a bit of a challenge. Might be a bit of wind noise on the transmission, so it's a bit windy. So I'll start with the Motorola first. Now, that's the size of the antenna on the Motorola. I'll bring it in for you. So that's the Motorola's antenna. It's basically like a coiled spring thing in there. That's the best way to describe it. But we'll see if it works. This is a test of the Motorola T62, transmitting back to base from the wall at the back end of Tesco's car park. So this is a test of the Motorola T62 behind a brick wall, low down in Tesco's car park. 12345 54321. Right. The Intek's antenna's a wee bit bigger, but I still don't think I don't think any of these would make it actually. I can't remember. I did do a comparison test of the 446 radios. I'm not going to go too far out. That's the Binatone. I don't want that. The Intek should be in there. Here we go. There we go. The Binatone's for after this. So the Intek MT-5050. Let's see if this one fares any better. This is a test of the Intek MT-5050 versus the Motorola Talkabout T62 behind a brick wall at the back of Tesco's car park. Testing 12345 54321. Well, I'm not going too far because obviously I don't want to go too far. So, because I've got to get back and deal with all of this. Yeah. This is a test of the Binatone Action 950 versus the Motorola Talkabout T62. Testing 12345 54321 from behind a brick wall at the back of Tesco car park. Okay, so there's been a little bit of a change down here. There's been a new shop open, so that'll be the last port of call, and then I'm going to go into Tesco's cafe and have a cup of coffee because it is open. So that's where I'll be going after I filmed the last bit. Right, so I'm at the final check-in point now. I'm just down the side of some buildings. So, what was behind me was originally a pound stretcher, but they closed down and now it's a Farm Foods. And I've discovered, unfortunately, the automatic doors are made by a company called Record, which make automatic doors and supply them to places like Tesco, and also the local McDonald's has them as well. And those doors, as you'll know from my previous videos, generate a lot of interference and noise on the 2-meter band, which doesn't really bode well for Record as a company. Anyways, back to this. So we're going to test this Motorola Talkabout T62 from here. It's quite a fair bit in the way now, so whether it gets there or not remains to be seen, so let's see. This is a test of the Motorola Talkabout T62 from just down the side of Farm Foods, formerly known as Pound Stretcher. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's get on with that bit. Boop. And let's turn the radio off, because I'm now done with it. So, I'm going to have a cup of coffee and I'm going to walk back and I'm going to collate the results. And also I'm going to respond to that comment, I'll try and get my words out there, by Big Pimp or whatever his name was. That's the Binatone, I don't want that yet. I want, when I find it, the Intek. So, I can't spit into the microphone from here, just so you know. As I wasn't really happy with his attitude, as you can tell. But I'm not letting that stop me make videos. Nothing. I'm all for criticism, but I like it to be done in a polite and courteous manner. So, let's try this Intek then. This is a test of the Intek MT-5050 from the same location, down the side of Farm Foods. And this is a test of the Intek MT-5050 versus the Motorola Talkabout T62. Okay, Intek is done. Last, but by no means least, the Binatone Action 950. Remember, all of these have been operating on PMR446 channel 5 today, because that channel was in fact clear, which I'm quite surprised about. Now, I've not got up to Prince's Gate and tried up there. I'm not going to be trying up there, so I want to try and put as much distance between me and the receiver as possible to try and replicate as much of real life as possible, as well as have as much in between as possible, and there's plenty in between from here. So, last radio, let's do it. This is a test of the Binatone Action 950 versus the Motorola Talkabout T62. Testing back into base. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'd say, hoping that's going to be a success. So next time you'll see me is back at home and I will go over the results. But you will see the results before I do, because it's going to be after every bit of this video. Just hurt my arm there, so I've been holding the camera in a funny way. But that's just to make sure I don't cover the camera lens, which is over there, because I've noticed I do have a little bit of a habit of doing that with the Oppo, but I'm not going to be doing it with the Oppo today, because the Oppo's got some headset problems and I need to fix that. So, I'm going to go and have that coffee in Tesco, and I'm going to respond to that comment by Big Pimp, whatever his name was, and just remind him gently that the microphone I was using on the day of the GB7LE test, in fact, has an absolutely rubbish microphone pop filter. So, I will see you shortly.
Versus the Motorola Talkabout T62. Testing back in space. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Right, so the Motorola Talkabout T62. So The check-in point at where the old phone box used to be, or as close to it as I could get, it was raining and I had to take shelter under a tree. This checked in fine, as was expected. Bottom of the street, also checked in fine, not a problem there. Behind the houses, that's where it was probably starting to struggle. But then it picked up a bit on the path down the side of the leisure centre and in front of the leisure centre, despite the fact the leisure centre is a big metal building. It all changed once I got down to behind the wall at the bottom of Tesco's car park once I got down the steps. This barely was able to open the squelch of the Midland BaseCamp, whereas the Binatone and the Intek managed to do that without a problem, though the Intek was not readable. Once I moved down to Farm Foods, down the side of Farm Foods, just to put as much in between me and that receiving BaseCamp 446 as possible. Again, same issue with the Motorola. It didn't quite make the trip, although its Roger Bleep did, which proves my point about Roger Bleeps being useful if the voice of the person speaking cannot be heard. Same applies with this Intek MT-5050, although the FM deviation for the voice is a bit to be desired, because I think it needs turning up a bit. I've still heard the Roger Bleep. Interestingly, when I did the final test with the Binatone, I didn't hear the Roger Bleep on the recording when I came back. So the Roger Bleep didn't get through from the Binatone, which actually very much surprised me, but it did from the Motorola, which barely was able to open the BaseCamp squelch. So that was just interesting. So I'm quite impressed that the Roger Bleep was audible from that distance. So that proves that in a normal scenario, in a built-up area, PMR446 is just simply not going to work over any kind of distance. If you want distance out of PMR446, you are going to have to be in an open field or on top of a hill. They're good for local communications. So if there's like a group of you, then you can keep in contact with these rather than a mobile phone, because mobile phone is very, very touch and go. Sometimes the signal can just stop working. As you will know, if you own a mobile phone, it can be very frustrating if you can't get service. Whereas walkie-talkie type radios like PMR446 will actually work where the mobile phones won't. So if you live in the middle of nowhere, they're pretty good. So these handheld CBs, as you'll have seen in previous videos. Right, would I recommend buying this? If you want short-range local communications, or you're in an open area and there's no obstruction between you and whoever you're trying to talk to, then of course, same as it would. This is a Motorola branded radio, so it's of good quality and it will have a decent warranty with it. Now, I did mention that there were some stickers that came with these radios. I don't actually understand as to why they provided these stickers. Got them over here. So these are the stickers that came with the Motorola Talkabout T62s. They're the same colour as the radio. So you've got one with a cycle on it, one with a caravan on it, one with a tent on it, one with a training shoe on it, one with what's supposed to be a depiction of a campfire on it, one with a carabiner on it, one with a guitar on it, and one with a picnic bench on it. And then some blank ones, so you can scribble your own markings on it. So it helps identify the radios. But what I normally do is I've got a P-Touch machine, and I normally give the PMR446 radios a number. This one's handset 5, and this one's handset 3. That's what I normally do with the PMR446 radios. In the case of the Midland BaseCamp 446, that's been given the designation Base 1 because it is a base. The Intek DRS5070 hasn't been designated anything because that was originally used when I lived up in Richmond as a free radio network gateway radio, which I've closed that down obviously because that radio has packed up and needs the finals looking at. The radio still switches on, but I need to have a look at the finals to find out whether it's actually in need of repair. And unfortunately, getting at them is a problem. So that's another video I might do in the future. When I actually come around to repair that, I'll have to put a BNC socket on it as well because the antenna is broken. So, but these Motorola's, they certainly look durable. That button feels rubberized. And this cover covers the USB port quite snugly, and this one covers the headset port quite snugly. So I don't think there's going to be too much ingress into those. It was raining on the day I took these out, and my main concern was water getting into the Binatone and the Intek, because as far as I could tell, neither of those radios are waterproof. But this looks like it should have been fine in that. They do promote them towards like hiking, and some hikers like to go out in the rain. So I'd say it should be splash proof, but not submersible. Don't chuck it in a bucket of water or anything, because then you will ruin it. But splash proof. So would survive something like what I was out in the other day when I did the filming. And it would come with a good guarantee as well, because it is a Motorola. And it's a proper Motorola, not one of these fake Motorolas made by Lenovo. Thank you very much. I'm still not happy that Lenovo actually own Motorola's mobile phone division, because that's kind of ruined those mobile phones for all eternity. This is a proper Motorola. And Motorola makes some bloody good stuff. So there might be more Motorola radios featuring on this channel at some point in the future, obviously when I can afford them, because some of them are actually quite expensive. These aren't, these are aimed at the consumer. And these are actually pretty good for giving to your children as well, because children have a habit of dropping things and breaking things by dropping them. And these seem quite durable. I'm not going to put that to the test though, just to see how it would survive being dropped from a height. So anyways, I hope you like my content, and if you do and you want to chip in a little bit to help the channel, you can in fact become an official patron or an early access patron, which gives you early access 3 days before everybody else to my videos. So the link will be at the end on the end card. So it's Paul, Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, or 26 Charlie Tango 730 if you catch me on 11 meters, and as it was in the case of this video, PMR446. Or if you just want to natter with me on the CB, or maybe even PMR446, I think this would work. But definitely the CB, just a general natter on there. You can call me the Red Squirrel if you like. So step 3 for now, and I'll catch you in the next video, which hopefully will be me going up to some high ground, which I think will be the Fleek, and doing the 8x8 net on PMR446. All being well, it depends on this weather, and I'll also have to get a bigger SD card for the S8, because it needs a bigger SD card, because the one that's in this isn't big enough. So I'll catch you in the next video.